Whoops. Get those headphones off. Hey, I'm back with the games I beat for January, February 2023, New Year. These are the first games I beat for this year. Not a long list, so we'll get to it. Beat a little game for the NES called Yo Noid. I always wanted to play through this one. I always tried it. Got to maybe the second stage and gave up. It's a platformer based on the Noid character. If you don't know who the Noid character is, in the 90s there was this character called the Noid for Domino's Pizza that would do something with your pizza, I think. I forget what exactly he did. He'd steal it, or if it came late, he'd do something. I don't remember exactly, but I remember the character. He's that little bunny-looking guy right there in a bunny outfit. I think this was based on another game in Japan. But they reskinned it as the Noid over here. Basically, it's a platformer, like most NES games. Platformers were the style at the time. It has some weird hit detection, especially on the skateboard level. But the worst thing about the game is the pizza eating contests. Every other stage, you go up against another Noid, and you have a card game from 1 to 5 or 6, and say he lays down a card of 3 pizzas, and you lay down a card of 4, then you will get 1 pizza. And you have to fill up this meter. On the bottom of the screen, there's you and him, and you have a meter of like 12 pizzas that you got to fill, and he has a meter of 12, say. And depending on the difference between the cards you play, like I said, if you play down a 4 and he lays a 3, then you get 1 pizza, and that fills up, and you only need 11 pizzas to win. So you have to go through that, and it takes a while. You basically have to do math and figure, okay, how can I beat this guy and get more eat either more pizzas while he runs out of cards, or have him run out of cards and I still have a card to win. It's not very fun. And if you lose, you don't die, but you have to do the stage over again. So it's very monotonous. The platforming's fine. It's with some weird hit detection. The music's okay. It's not a bad game. It's just the pizza part really drags it on, and the hit detection can be poor. But I was kind of into it. I don't know if it was more to see the ending of it, but it did frustrate me sometimes. But I was kind of liking it. I'll post a video to my playthrough. Luckily, I had like some people cheering me on or seeing me suffer, whichever one you want to say, during it. So you might get a kick out of that. It took me about 5 streams, I think, around there to beat it. It's an okay game. I don't know if I'll play it again anytime soon, but it's Noid Capcom. Next up, we have Tiny Toons Trouble in Wacky Land. This is Tiny Toon Adventures 2. The first Tiny Toon Adventures on NES I beat maybe around 2018. It's a basic platformer. You collect carrots and such, and items like Super Mario Brothers 3, like coins, carrots instead of coins. And it was a fun game, a little challenging. Not insurmountable. The thing about that game is you could switch between characters, but you could only switch when you got a certain item. So, sorry, I was seeing if it was raining outside. So, I liked it, but that part, I wish you could switch on the fly, like Castlevania 3. It was a standard platformer based on Super Mario 3, kind of collect items, get 100 carrots, get an extra life, I believe. This one's more of a... If you ever played Disney's Adventure in a Magic Kingdom, where you go through an amusement park and you do, I think, whatever ride there is in Disney, and then you get a key or something and to open the last level. This is kind of like that. It takes place in Wacky Land, and there's like 5 resorts. There's like I'm trying to remember. The hardest was the roller coaster. You got to memorize where to go, and you can flip up and down, and you have to depending on an obstacle coming, you have to either flip down to avoid it or flip up. And you kind of got to memorize. You'll never do it your first try. You got to play through it until you memorize. And when you do it, you get points. And if you get points, you can trade them in for tickets, or I think it's tickets, to open the final level. So you need like 40 tickets, I think. And you get that by beating the events. So you can replay them over and over again to get the tickets. There's like a bumper cars one. Those are the only two I remember, but there's other ones too. There's like 5 of them. I only remember the bumper cars and the... Oh, there's a train ride too with Hampton. I think Babs did the roller coaster. Plucky did the bumper cars. And each one, the harder ones give you more tickets. So I think the roller coaster was worth more than the train. The train was just a standard auto scroller. The bumper cars were like playing pinball, but you had to knock the ball, or the people, which are the ball, and the other carts into holes. And then there was other ones too. And then you play the final stage, which is a actually side-scrolling stage, pretty tough. And then you fight Montana Max and his machine at the end. So depending on how good you are at the mini games, you'll get through this faster. The challenge is the mini games, the rides, I should say, which aren't that great. I enjoyed the last platforming level more than the mini games, but I like the first Tiny Toons better. If you grew up watching the Tiny Toons and you could only pick one of these games, I'd say the first one's probably better to play, in my opinion. But this was not bad by any means, but it just didn't live up to my... I was kind of disappointed because I don't love Magic Kingdom, and this one's kind of like that same style. Next, I played through Commando. This is an early 87? This might have been before Mega Man. So if you don't know, Capcom, back at the early NES era, took a lot of their arcade ports, and they, I think, like Ghosts and Goblins, they had Micronics develop it and put it on the NES. Sector Z was one that they actually, I think, did take their arcade game, and they changed it up to be more of a Metroid-style exploration shooter, which I played through and beat Sector Z on one of the videos, and I mentioned my thoughts on that game. I think I drew a map for it, because you got to map out the different ways to go. Commando is just a straight arcade port. It repeats the levels, and it's pretty frantic. There's a lot of flicker from the graphics because there's a lot of stuff going on. Gets kind of challenging. I was able to beat it on my first serious attempt, so it's not that bad. It's just very monotonous near the end, because I think it goes on for 5 or 6 worlds of 3 stages each, and they kind of repeat themselves. The enemies get stronger. If you notice, I beat another Capcom shooter, Gun Dot Smoke, last year, and I really like Gun Dot Smoke, but this one's not nearly as good. But it does have a catchy tune, and the ending with the font that goes in a diagonal, and I think it says a really funny message when you beat it, is quite funny. It's an early Capcom game. They would also do Trojan on the NES. They did, what else? Sector Z, Ghosts and Goblins, which Micronics did. But their first real game that they took, the first real game they said, okay, we're developing solely for this system, is Mega Man, which came out, I think, after this one, or around this time. I think after Commando, because this is a pretty early game. And Mega Man was their attempt to make a game designed solely for the NES. And we all know how Mega Man turned out. But their early NES games, they shouldn't be slept on. I think Ghosts and Goblins, I can have some fun out of it. I mean, and Sector Z is an interesting concept that's decent, because they took their arcade game and made it a little different and more of explorative instead of a straight arcade shooter. It is a shooter, but it has more exploration to it. And Commando is just a straight arcade port. So their early games, I think, and Trojan I haven't beat yet. I can't say much about that. But I think of the ones I played, their early games are not terrible. They're just getting their footing on what do they want to do for the NES. And I think Commando is just more of a straight arcade port. The Gunsmoke, I do recommend out of those early games. I think Gunsmoke is uh, that's a good arcade port over that they did. Um, Next up, we have two more games left. Live Alive. I always said it Live Alive, but I guess when they were releasing this, they said Live Alive is the proper name, so I'll call it Live Alive. I never heard about this game until little bits and pieces here and there in the mid to late 2000s. And then Square mentioned that they were doing HD2 remake of it. So it's a Super Nintendo RPG that I never really heard much about because we never got it. It was released on the Super Famicom. We never got it because it came out around the same time as like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 3 or 6. So I don't think they took the time to put it over here. But it came out now, so it is a new game to me. Very, very good. I think it's like 7 individual character stories that play kind of different. Some are like a traditional RPG, like the Prehistoric. Some is like a turn-based fighting game, like Street Fighter, like the modern times ones. There's one in Edo, Japan, which is like you find your guy you want to recruit and you level him up, and you recruit him. There's a real cool one, which was you pick your main character. I picked the Sundance Kid. It's like a like a Western kind of town. I like Western themes, so I picked him. And you kind of got to set traps for the. It's like the Magnificent Seven, or what's the famous director's name? Who did the Japanese director? Seven Samurai. It's like that. You set traps for the people coming in, and depending on how well you do, you get more people with the traps. You don't have to fight as many people. And then there's like one that's no combat at all, and like a space station, like alien kind of feel with a robot. And they all come together at the end. I'm not going to say how, but I wasn't loving the game up until the end 2 chapters, which really pulled it together for me into making me really, really, really love it. The battle system is you're like on a grid, and it's turn-based, but you can move around the grid, and depending on your positioning, like certain attacks will do diagonal, certain attacks will do straight on, and you have like attacks that are striking, piercing, slashing, and so on. And you have magic attacks, and they have an area effect. So you got to move into position. The enemy moves, so you can move out of. If they're charging an attack, you can move out of the way, and then it'll miss because you're not on that area. So it's pretty cool. Different kind of turn-based battle system than I'm used to. The graphics are absolutely amazing in this, and the music is outstanding. The battle theme, Megalomaniac, is great. The ending battle theme is great. Just an overall great game. I don't want to spoil much about after you do the end chapters, what happens, but it really pulled the game together from this is good. I like it to wow, this is really, really good. I think it was like 29 hours to beat, and I play games slow, so I think the average human could do it in like probably 15, 20. But I'm very, very slow. But one thing, I gotta say, no instruction manual, nothing at all. Just a blank case with some artwork. I mean, it bugs me that they have these little tabs for instance, but nobody puts anything in them. Okay, whatever. But yeah, Live Alive, if you have, Live Alive, if you haven't played it, it is on, it's coming to other systems. I think PS4, it just came out, or is coming out, or PS5. I highly recommend this. Very good. Next up, we have another game I quite enjoyed. I'm still playing off and on, actually. That's Dragon Quest Treasures. Both of these were Christmas gifts, by the way, because we're into December. Live Alive was a gift from my sister, and Dragon Quest Treasures was from my mom. So, Dragon Quest Treasures stars Eric and Mia, twin, or I guess they're brother and sister from Dragon Quest XI and Erdrea. And basically this takes place before they went on that adventure. They're little kids. They're Vikings, and one day they sneak out and they meet a duo of characters, Persula, the cat, and Porcus, the pig. Porcus goes, I think, with Mia, and Persula goes with Eric. And they take them to Draconia in this little portal, and there it's a big world with treasure everywhere, and they have to find 7 magical dragon stones. So these guys who are gods themselves, I think they're gods, can transform back and take it back to their main god. So that's your whole goal. But the main draw of the game is you set up a base early on, and you recruit monsters to fill certain roles in the base, like shopkeeper and such. And then you go out and restore train stations on the world, would act as your travel points. And then while you're out and about, you see monsters that you can fight, and you have like a slingshot. It's called a catapult. And this is how I think they're going to do. If I had to guess, they're going to do Dragon Quest 12 system. You have a list of items, battle system. You have a list of items in your slingshot, and time pauses when you pull it back. You aim it, and you have a list on the right that lists like your stones, which are elemental. So I could see like one is like crack, one is like sizz, one is like zap for lightning. Like typical Dragon's Quest spells are in stones on your slingshot you load up. Pellets are weaker, bombs are your most strongest. You also have buff pellets, which buff your defense, oomph pellets with oomph your attack, sap pellets with sap the enemy's attack, decrease their defense with sap, blunt, which decreases their attack. So it's basically all the elemental spells and sports spells. Omni heal you have in Dragon Quest, snooze pellets, stun pellets you have, but in pellets, and it's slingshot that you can shoot. Your monsters attack automatically. So they're attacking, and you can stand by and just pelt enemies from a distance. Very fun. You can't equip armor in here, but you only equipped metals, which depending, there's bronze, silver, gold, and then shiny rainbow. And they give you like, okay, this metal gives you increase in HP plus 20, or increases your attack. And you can, as you level up your base, you go out, you find more treasure, and the monsters will sense treasure, and they'll say, hey, we found something, and they'll have a treasure chest. If it senses a silver treasure, that's bric-a-brac, that's more common, not as valuable. If it senses a gold treasure, that's the treasure you want to get to level up your base quickly. You get experience for getting treasure, and you also can take that treasure back to your base, put it in a treasure vault, raise your value, increases your level, you get more money per treasure, you get more treasure per level up, and your little bar will fill, and you have different steps from one base hunter whatever to, I think it's 19 or 20 is Galactic Hunter, which is over 1 billion. And you find like treasure that you find it's resets in the world. So you go out, and maybe it's in one place one time and it's something different, and it's in the next place another time it's something different. But the treasure you get is all Dragon Quest related, so you get like all the hero statues, you get all the armor, weapons. It's all Dragon Quest related. So if you like Dragon Quest like items, like I'm still playing this because I like to go out and get, it's very relaxing to go out and just go on a treasure hunt and find treasure, bring it back. Oh, that's the Urgic sword from Dragon Quest 2 or 1. That's the sacred armor. That's that's the horse poop. That's and they kind of fool you with silhouettes, like, okay, I think that's what it is, but then you take it back, and instead of Erdrick's armor, it's Mudrick's armor, and it says like armor made out of dirt and mud, so it's like not worth much. The worlds are kind of big. It's like each one has like 5 isles that are themed, like elemental theme. Like there's a desert, a flame area, a cold area, plains, and a woods area. And you have to get around the world by using your monsters that you find. And so how you capture monsters is you beat them, and they have a chance of joining your group. You go back to the tavern, or I'm going to call it a tavern, and you can recruit them for certain consumables. Like this one wants some rice pudding and two, what's a collectible in a Dragon Quest game that you get from 11? Glimmer glass or something, and you give it to them, and they'll join, and they level up automatically when you're away, so you don't have to take them out to level up. they level up while you're in the base. As you come back, they still gain experience, which is nice. So each one, there's things called fortes, and I know I'm going on, but this is a kind of a I haven't played anything like this game before, and I quite enjoy it. There's things called fortes, which gives you your abilities in the game. So if you need to jump high, there's a jump forte, and that's usually by a slime enemy. You jump off of them and they boost you up. There's a float forte, I think of like Breath of the Wild, like the glider. So you get like Drakeys or Elysium birds that will allow you to fly and go over to different areas. There's stealth, which makes you go under the ground and go into little cracks to get treasure. There's also scan, which lets you scan the area and it'll highlight all the treasure, the wooden treasure box, because there's wooden treasure boxes that are on just on the surface that you can find. And all your materials you can hunt, because you find other materials from, like, if you play Dragon Quest Lover, you got Glimmer Glass, you got Saint Somas, all these items you can find around the world, and you use that to craft your pellets if you need to. You can also buy pellets as you find recipes. You can buy certain pellets and your food to make and stuff like that. You can craft food to give to the higher level monsters to recruit them as you find them. If you want a better chance at recruiting monsters, you can hit them with buddy pellets. Excuse me, little hiccup. And they'll have a better chance to recruit after you beat them. There's special monsters with hats, so you want to look for them. And each monster is very good at finding certain treasures. So if you look, when you go out into the world, it has like a treasure like radar, and it'll give you certain icons, which are what's your find in that area. So there's a little sword, that means you'll find weapons. If there's an Erdrick statue with a 1, that means characters 1. There's a dragon statue, that's monsters 1. Each monster has like maybe 1 or 2 of those things. So for the treasure forecast, which change, it'll in one area say forget the area names, but say the Windswept Moors. It has 1 character statue of Erdrick, and then 1 monster statue, and then a crystal ball statue, which is like otherworldly items. So you want to match your monsters with those items, and you get up to a percentage. Say if you match 1 of 4, you get 25%. So you have a 25% chance of the monsters finding more treasure. If you're 100%, they're going to alert treasure all the time. So, and then you'll have no trouble finding treasure. But I found that you can ignore that, because as you're exploring these areas, which are kind of vast, you will find treasure. Just they'll still find it, but it's just farther out. They can find it quicker. So the areas are kind of vast. You can't equip weapons. You just have a dagger that you fight. And the best way to boost your attack with that is when you find medals. You can equip your medals, but you want to auto-equipped with, like, by offense, attack, defense, magic, because certain monsters are magical, so you can auto-equip like MP or magical attacks, so their spells do more damage or they have more MP to cast them. And it's just really fun. The music is all great. It's all Dragon Quest music. If you like that, I love it. It has a certain charm to it where you're just going out. It's very addicting to go out, find some treasure. It's relaxing. Collect it. Oh, I got Erdrick's armor. Yes. Oh, there's the hero from 7. Yes. Oh, there's Yangus. Yes, I got him. And you build up your base, and you can put your collection on display. I think there's 700 some treasures. I have about 500. I'm still playing it though. Level 99. I'm trying to get some characters I like up to 99. There's a little post game. Not a long game either. I think I took my time. And I got through it in about 30, 40 hours. So it's, I mean, and some people are getting through it even quicker. But I'm up to like 80 some, 90 some hours. And I'm still playing it. I pop it in every once in a while. This is a good game. I think kids might like this game, because it's kind of a relaxed, chill kind of game. And it has lots of call-outs to Dragon Quest fans, obviously. It has music from all the games. It has treasure from all the games. It has its own story. Eric and Mia's in it. I quite like this game quite a lot, and I think you don't hear a lot of people talking about it. Think Breath of the Wild, but not as annoying with weapons breaking or raining all the time. It gets that feel of exploration, and the stuff in here I actually like to collect instead of Breath of the Wild's weapons that break. It's very, very fun. I quite like it a lot. And that is all the games I beat for January, February 2023? Yeah, January, February 23. If I had to suggest one game to play out of these games, I would probably say Live Alive, if you like RPGs. If you're a Dragon Quest fan, I would say Dragon Quest Treasures. If you're not an RPG fan, I would say... Well, this is tough. None of these NES games I loved. I would say Noid just for the fact that it's a Domino's Pizza mascot game, and I kind of got some enjoyment out of it. So everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will be back soon.